listening to the Marriage Clinic podcast, a podcast on love, marriage, and personal development. Our purpose is to inspire and equip you with knowledge and skills to enable you to have lasting and fulfilling relationships. Now your host, Joshua Mulgrew.
This is the Marriage Clinic podcast, a podcast about love, marriage, and your personal development. Last week, we started with the 15 reasons behind struggling marriages. Or you could say 15 reasons why marriages struggle. Whichever way you want to put it, hey, it's out there for you. It is your podcast. So whatever you want to title this one, be my guest. So last week, I started talking about why I have identified couple struggle. I know some people were asking questions. You haven't mentioned this yet. You haven't mentioned that yet. I am talking about the 15 reasons I have identified why couples struggle. 15 reasons I have identified why couples struggle. My name is Dr. Joshua Mulgrew, and I like it when you call me Uncle Josh. Please like this podcast. Please share it. As we are winding down at the end of the year, we just have a few podcasts left, and then we'll go on a break ending season 2. It's been good to have you, but please do share this with people, and please let more people come to realize that we are putting out good information that is helping your marriages work, that is helping your relationships work, and that will make you a better person. So I started with the 15 reasons last week. What was reason number 1? I said unrealistic expectations. Reason number 2 was not adapting to the changing seasons. That brings me to number 3, digital distractions. Digital distractions. The phones we have been the best thing that has happened to us in the last 30 years. One of the best things that has happened to us in the last 30 years, and one of the worst things that has happened to us in the last 30 years. In the words of Charles Dickens, it's been the best of times and the worst of times. Why do I say that? Our phones and having access to the internet and social media and artificial intelligence and all these things has been great in making us more connected and more productive. On the other hand, all of this information and all of this technology has made us less human. So I noticed that couples all over the place now are constantly being distracted by the phones in their hands and by the digital equipment that they have. Let me give you an example. A husband comes home from work. Husband and wife come home from work. They finish having supper. They sit down, and instead of having a conversation, the husband is on TikTok and the wife is responding to WhatsApp messages. Now, if you went on your phone right now and you looked at the apps and the number of hours you have spent on the apps per week, you would realize that on average, people spend between 6 to 7 hours on their phone each day. Let's be charitable, okay? No, I think it's each week. So it should be more than that. I'll check it and you can check it. But let's even say that it shows that you are spending about 4 hours on your phone each week. You wake up, you are spending 6 to 7 hours sleeping. So that's 7 hours gone. You're spending about 2 hours to 3 hours on food related issues. So that's 10 hours gone. You are working for about 8 hours. So let's even say you have what's left. Back in the day, when marriages were working and there was only one TV channel, when the husband and wife came home from work, they would sit around the TV, they would watch TV. Most of the programs were boring, and they would talk about their day. Today, we get home and we talk to different people on our devices, and then we spend about 5 or 10 minutes talking to each other, spend about 10 minutes having sex, and then we go to bed. So gradually, the digital distractions are ensuring that you are married, but you're not having the contact hours of marriage that you should be having. So the third reason why marriages are struggling is because of digital distractions. Excessive use of technology and social media can lead to the neglect of the relationship. Ask yourself, if I was spending half the time I spend on social media talking with my wife or with my husband, would our marriage be better? And now what happens is that when you have a quarrel or you have a misunderstanding, in the past, because you are sitting in the same place doing nothing, you are forced to talk. But now, if we have a quarrel, I can have a nice time on my phone, laughing at videos, and you can be chatting with your girlfriend, telling her how annoying of a husband he is for over an hour, and you don't have to engage each other. Digital distractions are causing marriages to struggle. Brings me to number four. The fourth reason I've identified why couples and marriages are struggling is what I like to call the grass is greener syndrome. The grass is greener syndrome. One of the reasons why I'm very transparent about, and anyone who talks to me and deals with me on a personal level realizes that I share both the joys and the struggles of my marriage. I'm a marriage coach, a relationship coach. I've been married for several years now. But my marriage is not perfect. We have our struggles, we have our spats. It has got better over the years, but there are areas that we are still working on and still building on. There is no perfect marriage out there. But when I say the fourth reason is the grass is greener syndrome, there's this lie that we start to believe that you would be happier if you were with someone else. You would be happier if you were with someone else. I heard this analogy from Uncle Ebo White. I don't know if it's original to him, but he spoke about the fact that when you are with your spouse, you would love 80% of what they have and hate or dislike 20%. But as you begin to look over the fence, you will see the 20% out there. And you get convinced that that 20% will make you happy. That's the reason why second marriages are not as successful as first marriages. And third marriages are worse than first marriages and second marriages. The grass isn't greener out there. You will not find a man that will necessarily treat you better. And because of that, people remain in relationships and believe that they've made a mistake. They don't work on what they have, and they just feel, if only I left this relationship, I'll be happy out there. If the grass is greener out there, it's either an astroturf where it's fake grass, or they have a higher water bill. And the other question you should ask, that high value man or woman that you see out there and you believe you deserve, would they want you? You know, sometimes you say, oh, I need a woman who looks like a Victoria's Secret model. The question is, does a Victoria's Secret model want you? I need a man who's like Denzel. We used to say Denzel. I don't know who the hot actors are. I need a man who's like Denzel or a man who's like this. But would Denzel want you? I deserve an Obama. Would an Obama want you? So the grass is not always greener at the other side. And sometimes you don't have what it takes to maintain such green grass. So sit down, work on the marriage that you have, put those grandiose ideas aside, understand that the person you have will never be perfect, work on their strengths, focus on their strengths, and then their weaknesses begin to diminish. The grass is greener syndrome. Brings me to number five. Number five. What's number five? Number five says neglecting relationship maintenance. Neglecting relationship maintenance. What does this mean? Let me explain. Everything on this earth, if you ignore and you refuse to pay attention to, it ends up getting destroyed or not playing the role it has to. Let me give you a little example, a funny example. Around my house, I love greenery. I love greenery so much. I plant trees everywhere I go. In my home, I probably have planted between 150 to 200 trees around. Now, some of the plants I planted were meant to be hedges. But on one side of the house, I was not taking good care of them. So they developed into trees. I mean, like full-blown trees. Almost every hedge you see out there can become a tree. So this year, I had to get a chainsaw and cut down nearly to the barest level each and every hedge that was supposed to be a hedge but had turned to a tree. And I'm now growing it out and trimming it to be a hedge. Why? Because I neglected it. When you drive a car for 3 months, you don't change the oil, you don't attend to the noises, you don't put in the right kind of fuel, that car breaks down. When you have a home and every other year you don't paint the home, you don't change faulty sockets, you don't work on the roof, you don't work on stuff, the house soon looks like a dump. All truths are parallel. If you have a marriage and you are not paying attention to the marriage soon gets messed up. If you're not paying attention to going for periodic counseling, I believe that every couple, and this is my personal belief, at least twice or 3 times a year should go meet a marriage counselor to talk about it. I believe that every couple between twice a month or once a month should sit down and discuss the marriage. Where are you? What's going on with you? What are the challenges you feel you are feeling now? What's the best part of the marriage for this last month? What's the worst part of the marriage for this last month? Is there anything I'm doing that's really getting to you? What are you struggling with at the moment? These are questions that you bring in that help you to maintain the relationship. I probably should do a podcast. Maybe next season I should do a podcast on how to maintain a marriage. But if you are not doing this hard work to maintain this marriage, you will end up realizing that the marriage begins to struggle. The marriage begins to struggle, and that is not good for anyone. This has been the Marriage Clinic Podcast, a podcast about love, marriage, and your personal development. This week, I hit you with 3 reasons why marriages struggle. I said digital distractions, the grass is greener syndrome, and neglecting relationship maintenance. I'm going to be back with Ask Uncle Josh, and next week, I will hit you with the rest of them. It's been a pleasure being with you. See you next week, see you in a few minutes for Ask Uncle Josh. Take care. Share this. Bye-bye. Okay, so this is an interesting question. Hello, I'd like to remain anonymous. Too many of you want to remain anonymous. I need names to mention. My husband has an excessive desire for sex. Almost every day he wants to engage in sexual activity. He gets upset when I refuse. What can I do to address this situation? First of all, I want to announce to you that it's a general problem. All men like sex. It's not a problem your husband has, unless he's asking for sex up to 3 times or 4 times every day in a row, and you are giving him the sex and he is still asking the next day, every day in a row. Then he may have a super high libido, but it's a good place to be in. But I would advise you that, as I tell people, we have 3 kinds of sex. We have sex to meet a need, we have good sex, and we have great sex. If he wants sex, give him sex. It doesn't last that long. And if it will make him happy, put him in a better place, allow him to be able to resist temptation some more and so on. Sometimes sex is a duty, but try your best. Remember that if you do give him regular sex, he's not going to want sex as much, because some guys have a 48-hour cycle of, if they have sex in 2 days' time, they want to have sex. Some have a 72-hour. Some have a particular week where they are really randy and then they go off for a number of days and come back. So please, it's a good place to be. Do not see sex as a burden. Remember, it doesn't take that long. So go have fun. Take care of yourselves. It's been great having this time. Bye-bye.